And what is going on, everybody? This is going to be not an episode of the Iron Man podcast because Mr. Andy didn't have enough time for that. So we decided, you know what? Let's just do a nice pre-recorded discussion so you guys can put this, on in the background and listen to us talk about just generally whatever we're going to talk about. Or if you're at the gym and you're, pushing a lot of weight, or if you're a hot lady listening to us, well, you're probably going to get turned on by the sound of my voice, actually.
There you go.
So, what's going on, man? Nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, it's good to meet you as well.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for like quite some time, but
I know.
Schedules and being busy, and you're like super successful right now with your indie comic book project you have going on. You're on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Which one is
Indiegogo? But now the campaign's actually closed. We closed it because the book's at the printer.
Okay. So yeah. Well, as we're gonna start this off, let's get your origin story. So, how was your life growing up?
It was fine. I grew up in Maryland. I got into comics probably in early 80s, 81, 82, 83, somewhere around there. But I always liked to draw. Drew all the time as a kid. I was really into Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars and just cars in general. So I actually drew cars a lot as a kid. And once I got into comics and discovered what they were, and this, wow, what are these? I just fell in love with the stuff. And obviously somebody had to draw the stuff. I could tell that,
Right.
So I kind of switched over and started trying to draw, superheroes and stuff. And from that moment on, I just was like, I'm going to draw comics for a living. And they ran, and they still run them. But, I went to the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art. And back then, and like I said, even to this day, they still run ads in comics for the school. Because, why not? That's your target audience. You're not going to run an ad for the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art and, Vogue magazine. You run it in, comic books and magazines like that. So, I saw that ad and, it worked out for me. I'm not quite sure I'd give this advice to somebody, but I was pretty much solely focused on that school. I had the horse blinders on. I wasn't looking at different schools and stuff. I was just like, no, this is where I want to go. And just put all my focus into, obviously taking art classes in school and, high school, middle school. Teachers are always like, most of these kids probably want an easy A, but every now and then there's 2 or 3 per class.
Right.
That, they're like, oh, this kid's serious. And it's cool because it kind of hypes the teacher up because they're like, oh yeah, somebody I can actually work with that wants to learn. So that was cool. Teachers were really supportive. My parents were really supportive. I took some, individual art classes like figure drawing and stuff outside of high school, which my parents actually had to sign a permission slip because I was under 18 and figure drawing is with nude models and stuff, so they had to sign off on that. And I was in high school, so I was like 15, 16, so it wasn't like
you were born in the 80s, right?
Huh?
You were born in the 80s, right?
No, I was born in 69. So
you were born in 69. Holy crap.
I know.
You've been through the ringer. Holy moly.
Yeah. I grew up in the 80s. Early years, obviously in the 70s. So I still remember the 70s and stuff, later 70s.
Yeah.
And then, teen years, early teens and up to the 20s was in the 80s and such. So, yeah, it worked out kind of well. If I was born in 70, then I could literally be like, yeah, I was 1 through 10 and 70 and 11 through 20 and 80 but close enough. I was born in November, so I was late in the year anyhow. So
yeah, so you're like borderline starting in 70s, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. For most of the year, it's like 2023, and I'm 53. I'll be 54 in November, but it's only for like 6 weeks of the
You know, it's
year.
crazy. I didn't think you were like 50. I thought you were like 40 something.
I appreciate that. I wish I remember those days well.
Back in my day, you probably remember like how even the music industry was like when you were younger. I told people even when I was there, getting to listen to music was a special thing because getting and actually having music in your hands was so much different than it is now. Like now you just go and download a song off like YouTube or whatever and put it on your phone. No, it's definitely not how it was growing up. CD players, cassette players, waiting to record a song on a radio. Oh my God.
Oh, that's what I had to do. Like I can remember growing up, I think it was Q107 was the main station I listened to. And, every night it was the top 7 at 7, I think, because it was Q107. And I'd listen to the top 7. And if I heard a song I liked, generally, unless it was like number 6 or 7, anything within the top 5 was probably going to be in the top 7 the following night. So if I heard it on like a Tuesday, Wednesday night, I'd be up in my room, and it wasn't like a great radio player. It was literally a clock radio, the old school digital readout clock radio. But I'd have my little tape recorder next to it, and the top 7 at 7 would come on, and they'd always introduce the song and then play it. So when I heard them introduce that song I wanted, I hit record so I could get the song that way instead of having to go out and buy the whole cassette or the cassette single.
Yeah, record player. Good Lord, man. What's interesting is I've been going through like even my older like music videos I used to watch when I was a kid and just growing up now. It's like when a music video would drop or any new song would drop from like people's favorite bands or artists, it felt like that everyone was super like in love with it. It might, and subjective on people actually like the songs themselves, but it felt like it was an actual event when a new music single dropped,
Oh yeah.
It felt so much different back then.
It's really weird. And I don't listen to music as much as I used to. A lot of it is we have Sirius XM in the car, and my daughter likes listening to I can't remember the exact name of the channel, but it basically plays music from about 2010 to 17 or 18. It's like the 10 spot, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's like one of those older TV channels used to just play nothing but music on loop.
And this just plays music from 2010 to 2018, 19.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to that with her. If it's just me in the car, I'll turn on Hair Nation, which is 80s, hair bands and stuff. Other than that, I guess one of the things is going back to your point, it doesn't seem like such a big deal. There's just so much out there now where, if you don't, unless you're really into music, for me, I could listen to a couple songs by a couple different people and go, oh, it sounds like it's all the same person. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just not. And it's always kind of been like that. I mean, look, in the 80s, when it came to, metal hair bands and stuff, you had Quiet Riot, you had Queensryche, stuff like that. And I guess you could say, well, that sounds the same to me. But I just think that now there's just so much. And man, one of the things on the 10 spot is when a song comes up, it's so rare to see a song that is just like one person. Now it's like, 3 or 4 artists just doing one song together. And I don't remember it being like that either growing up. And I'm just like, people just do something by yourself.
Yeah, like having someone collab with someone as like a featured person was a special thing.
Yeah.
Now it just is the standard that you collab with someone.
It's all the time.
Yeah. And it was crazy is when music videos used to pop up for a lot of people, they never like even said who the directors were. You never knew who was really involved. All you knew was just, hey, this is the person song and that's what they're singing about or rapping about, and that's it. Now they have director directed by this person and all that stuff. It's evolved. I feel like the storytelling in music videos is also bad too. I was trying to watch one of the newest ones and I was like, what is this person even trying to convey to me? He was in love with a girl, in love with a tractor, and he'll be like, what the fuck's going on here?
Dude, I haven't watched a music video in so long. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a music video.
Shoot, and most of the ones that I did in the coming across like YouTube's recommended feed, it's like really light versions of just like dudes popping bottles with women, same shit, except worse actual lyrics. Holy moly.
Yeah, like look, I remembered when MTV debuted, you know, and for the first decade, it was music videos. I think it was in the 90s when they started doing, the reality show
Yeah.
stuff and then more produced stuff. And then, forget it. I haven't watched MTV in the 2000s at all.
Yeah.
Probably not even much in the 90s, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. It was mostly the 80s.
Mhm.
And I remember VH1 doing their trying to be different. So they do a music video, but they do the pop-ups that gave you some
Yeah.
information while you're, and I thought that was cool because I love behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of taking the specialness out of stuff. And I don't know, stuff I used to care about, like, oh man, who's going to be at the Super Bowl? I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that enthusiasm really hasn't been there for me. I don't know, other people think the same way. You have mentioned this too. Like when a new movie would get announced, you'd be so excited, and then when you finally saw the trailer, your excitement would just even build up even more. Then when you finally got the movie, it felt different back then. Now, like the Marvels, at the time of doing this pre-recorded video, the Marvels is coming out, and we have Aquaman 2 coming out, and people are just going like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it, but it's kind of meh to me. The trailers will feel kind of meh, and that's been a sentiment for a while. Like, we're only really watching it for like content purposes. We're not watching because we maybe think it's actually going to be good. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I think with those movies, one, we all know COVID really screwed up schedules for everything.
Yeah,
I mean everything, and it really did suck for like Marvel, DC as well, because it just killed the momentum. I mean, think about it, Endgame was 2019, I believe.
Yes.
Right. And that was the big boom final. I don't know if it was technically the last one in phase 1. To me, it was.
Oh, technically, Far From Home ends phase 3. So you have like $2 billion back-to-back movies right there.
But then 2020, everything gets shut down. The movies that they want to come out, they had to push everything back, and it just killed their momentum to the point of, when they did come back, I still wanted to go see them, and some of them were good, but a lot of the Marvel stuff after Endgame was just mediocre.
Yeah,
and so the hype for like the Marvels, I'm gonna go see it because my buddy Dennis and I, when we do our weekly movie review, so we'll go see it to review it and stuff, but I'm not like pumped for it. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait. Like I was for other ones. And it has nothing to do with like, like this is where Dennis and I disagree. Like, I don't think the trailer's awful. Dennis is like, oh, it just looks so bad. I'm like, I don't think it's awful. I'm not a fan of Brie Larson, but I guess my biggest problem with the Marvels is, Ronan's toast. So they have to do a new person, and, it's a Ronan type character, I guess from the same planet, whatever, but it's a woman. And I don't really, it's like, to me, it would be cooler if it was a guy, because then if, the women are going to win in the end, and it would just make them actually look stronger beating a guy, just like in Captain Marvel. They took their original Captain Marvel and turned it into Annette Bening, and I'm like, there's no reason to gender swap, because once again, if it was a guy, like in the comics, it just would have made her look that much more powerful beating up this guy. And, by making the villain in the Marvels this female Ronin type character, I'm just like, I don't care, because you literally look like you're not making a movie for everybody. You're just making a movie for the female audience, And so like I said, I'll go see it. Aquaman suffered from all the pushbacks. I mean, dude, that was supposed to come out last December.
Right. Yeah.
And they pushed it a year. What the hell? There's
been a lot of that. Yeah, I agree. All that stuff has basically killed the momentum. And even when you get it, after people have been waiting for so long, it's not good or even considered average. I mean, it's going to vary, obviously, person to person, but for the most part, the general consensus is this is just not good. So even when you wait this long, you're not getting a good product. You're going to be pretty angry. I'm going to be pretty mad if I wait this long and this product sucks.
Oh, yeah. And at least for the Marvel stuff, you can say, well, even though, and they know they've put out some stinkers, but they're still trying to move forward. The
Right.
problem with DC is, you know, we know that with James Gunn taking over, that after this Aquaman, it's like, well, that was nice, but it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Shazam or Black Adam, it doesn't matter. The movie doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
so now you want me to go to a movie that your new guy has already said doesn't matter.
And it's really weird, man, because, you know, back in the day when like movies like Jaws would drop, people didn't care if there were like sequels that would be following it, right? But I think people need to understand the difference with back then versus now is that still should be the sentiment. I should go to a movie and be able to enjoy it, not caring if there's a sequel. But that also is two different mindsets on how two movie franchises would work. One is not really going to be ever gearing towards being a big giant universe of connected movies. Whereas with DC, like you mentioned in your point, this is a connected universe. And if the new guy in charge is basically telling people, hey, none of that shit you're about to watch in 2023 matters, why should people go and watch it, though? Right, if you're looking at it from that perspective, right? Because, yeah, and I think if this is, it should be this way, it's true, which is, yeah, we should be able to go to a movie and see it for what it is and see if we enjoy it. But the problem here is most people aren't going to think that way. That's just not what the casual wants. The casual wants to connected. They told a bunch of casuals, yeah, what's coming out this year don't mean shit. Oh, and that Blue Beetle character, he also doesn't mean shit, but he'll be in our new universe, so go and support that. It's like, what?
Right. And I think DC's mistake is, you know, once again, Marvel's not mistake is if a movie comes out and it doesn't do well, they'll just be like, okay, well, we're going to keep moving forward. And instead of doing another standalone with this guy, maybe we'll just be like, sorry, there's not going to be any sequels, but we're building to something, so we'll be using you at some point. You know, and they won't recast unless they something drastic happens and they have to. But DC's like I like Henry Cavill. I like Gal Gadot. I like Ben Affleck as Batman. They put these movies out, you know, the Justice League and all that, and they don't do as well as they think they're going to. And instead of reflecting back on what they did wrong, they're just like, that's it. Let's recast and restart everything. And it's like, well, I don't think the casting's bad. And they're good actors. Maybe it's you guys. So maybe instead of just chucking everything, just move forward and just improve.
And
but,
it's
you know,
something that people
again. So
and it's something that people complained with Zack Snyder. And I wasn't a huge fan of his movies, but you can't really inherently blame him for decisions that they made based around the person that he knew, right? So what people don't remember is he literally did movies for them. Watchmen 300, once people always reference. So they know this guy's style. They know what type of story he likes. They know the type of stories he likes to produce. They know the type of visual medium he likes to put out for his movies. They know his writing style. They know all that stuff, you know? And I get Christopher Nolan recommended him. I get that. But people don't understand it's not Nolan's fault or Zach's fault. They're the ones in charge. Like, who's in charge of this company? Who's in charge? Because back then it was Toby Emmerich and that one lady and the other guy that I forgot their names at the moment right now, but they're the ones in charge. Who's the people that need to lead this? You know, if Nolan says, hey, all you executives go jump up a bridge because I believe you'll gain superpowers if you do it. Are you doing it then? So I get when people I don't understand why people don't understand this. It's not really, Zach has a different idea for how he did things, but the company should go, if we're paying you this much money, we want this. Because let's be honest with you, they wanted something similar like the MCU. That's what they wanted. That's fine. But you need to be open with that and let people know that's what you want, because even though I might not agree with that approach, maybe they didn't, at least you know what they want. So you can't just be like, they didn't tell me. They were not open with this. It kind of just was, let's be honest with you, dude. They were cutting massive corners. They didn't understand why Marvel had the success they did. And even if they did understand it, they wanted to cut massive corners to it. And they basically got fuck all results because they've made fuck all decisions with the creative process.
I mean, when DC, you know, did Man of Steel, and instead of doing like a Man of Steel 2, and it just looked like they were like, oh crap, we've got so much ground to catch up. It's like starting a marathon and the one guy's out there like, you know, 10 miles ahead of you. And then you start and you're like, holy crap, we got to make up a lot of ground. And, you know, DC's like Man of Steel. Man of Steel got hot and cold reactions, you know, because it was dark. But it's like, it's Zack Snyder. What do you expect? And I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. and then they do Batman versus Superman. But they had no idea they were doing that next because, and I said this when they announced Batman versus Superman was the next movie and not Man of Steel 2. I said, if they knew they were going to do that, they should have done an after credit scene in Man of Steel where it's like a long shot of Metropolis. It's kind of destroyed and stuff. And then the camera pans back and you realize you're watching it on a very high-tech monitor. And then in front of the monitor, some cool looking keyboard. And then all you see maybe is a hand come in to type something, but you can tell because you see enough of the hand to realize it's Batman's glove.
Right.
And if that was the after credit scene, holy crap, people would have lost their minds. And then it would have made sense going to Batman Superman.
You could do your idea with Lex Luthor. Have that same thing be Lex Luthor.
Anything.
Yeah.
But
imagine how hyped that would have been.
They tried to form a long-term plan after going, okay, we'll do Man of Steel versus Batman. And we'll get the Wonder Woman out. So we get her movie out. We've introduced Batman. Now we can do Justice League. And it's like, nobody really knows who the Flash is or Cyborg. And I'm not saying those guys deserve to stand alone. I mean, the Flash, maybe Cyborg. Cyborg. Instead of Cyborg in the Justice League, I would have done John Stewart, Green Lantern,
Martian Manhunter. I would have done
Martian Manhunter. Just somebody more popular. I mean, Cyborg.
Cyborg's more of a
I like the Teen Titans.
People don't know this actually. Cyborg is the New 52 Justice League edition. That's a Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison thing. Like he really was a Teen Titans character. That's what they had him in the animated show. He was a Teen Titans character. It was their way of reinventing the Justice League. Well, Cyborg there, but doesn't he kind of function so much like Batman, so he can get in like spaces that Batman can't? So it's like, I just don't really like, what is the addition of Cyborg to the actual main Justice League that they already don't have with Batman, Well,
true, but you saw in the movie, they had to get the mother box and Darkseid in there somehow. So basically Cyborg's made out of the mother box material, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, look, I'll give them credit. I watched because it was during COVID when they released it. I watched the 4-hour Zack Snyder.
Me too.
cut.
Yeah.
And I did like it more than the one they released where Josh Whedon had to come in. And I'll be honest, I know some people said that felt like a 4-hour movie. I watched it with Dennis over at his place, and halfway through the movie, I remember saying something to him like, dude, it's already been 2 hours. And it didn't feel like it. Like I didn't feel like I sat through 4 hours. I thought it was paced really well, and I thought it went through really quick. I still have problems with it. It's not as good as the Marvel stuff, but overall, it was so much better than the Whedon one. So.
Yeah, and the thing about how badly Warner Bros. Ran as a company is Josh Whedon, he did ask for more time on the movie because they screwed him over badly. Now, I don't know how he treated the cast and all that was that's a big thing. Yeah. And he asked, hey, I need more time. And Kevin Tsuchihara, who was in charge of Warner Bros. At the time, I think, he was basically like, he told him no. He told him no because they were going to get acquired by AT&T, so they had to release Justice League because they needed their Christmas. They wanted to get their Christmas bonuses, so they literally. It's just so bad for these leadership people. And I told people, I don't care if David Zaslav took them over. These people needed to be taken over. They're stupid. They're actually just dumb people. Like they're such morons. And it took David Zaslav coming in and being like, hey, why are we utilizing our properties like this? AT&T didn't sure know what they're doing. I don't know how that a telecommunications company on Warner Brothers. That's how bad things got people. And they were like, you can't make any money off this company. This company's dead to rights. We're leaving. Discovery, take this, please. They took it, and David Zaslav went, okay, we're rewriting this shit. People got mad at him because he canceled Batgirl. Let's just be honest here. All those likes and retweets of people saying, save Batgirl, those people weren't going to watch the movies. Even at that time period, DC movies, financially, the box office have been tanking.
The problem with people listening to likes and retweets and stuff like that is they're thinking that that's like the major, the majority. And it's like, no, it's not.
They think that, sure.
Look, if they can take whatever $1 million write-off of Batgirl that they can take by not releasing it and saying, nope, we just spent, whatever, let's say $200 million on this. We're not releasing it. So now we can actually, basically write it off on the corporate taxes or whatever and do that. All right, do it. Doesn't bother me. I mean, once again, Batgirl, when they announced Batgirl, I was like,
That's not.
okay, I'm not
Yeah.
excited to see that movie. I don't
Yeah.
care. You
And I
know?
like me some Barbara, but Barbara is not a character that I think could hold her own. Barbara is a cool addition when Batman is established. Like in the Arkham games, people figured out
Right.
people didn't know that was people who's fuck's Oracle? Like Oracle's Barbara, but obviously casuals are gonna know that. And she looked more appealing to people when she's an addition to an established world of Batman. Like Nightwing is probably the only other Batman character I think on his own could stand in his own like movies if they did that for him. Like Tim Drake's not. Damian Wayne, no. There's just cooler additions with Batman, like Red Hood. If they made an Under the Red Hood movie, Jason Todd could work. I don't think Jason Todd on his own could have his own movies, and it's just bad decisions. Remember they were doing a Wonder Twins movie? Remember that? They were doing a Wonder Twins movie.
Well, the other thing they do is, at least Marvel tries to coordinate the whole universe with the TV shows, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to Disney Plus, even back to Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, they threw nuggets in to connect everything.
Mm-hmm.
DC's like, yeah, we know there's the Arrow and CW and Flash or whatever, but they don't exist to us. And it's like, what are you talking about?
They're beneath,
if you want to get
they're beneath them because it's TV. That's
I know, and that's the problem, because it's like, and back, you know, once again, when I was growing up in the 80s, probably even into the 90s, definitely 70s and stuff, there was that I'm a TV actor, I'm a movie actor, you know, and there was like that division. But in this day and age, with streaming and all that, no, you keep it cohesive. And it's like, I liked Arrow. I watched every season, every episode of Smallville, every episode of Arrow, every episode of Flash, and I'm glad they canceled the Flash because it was kind of going down. But you know, it was getting long in the tooth. But point is, I liked all those actors, and they should have. And I know lots of people have said this online, but once again, they should have incorporated Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell and those characters into the movies and brought them up. It
was because I forgot who. Oh God, I think it was Walter Amada who they had. Not he was the president after AT&T acquisition, but I think it was Walter Amada and someone else. They did an interview where they asked him like, "Why don't you use the people you have right here? The fans already like these guys." Because they thought it would cause confusion having the TV actors appear in the actual movie universe they were trying to build. And that's what we're going like, you people are out of touch with reality. People already like these two.
Yeah, but I can see why he said that, because he was looking at it from the standpoint of the stories we're doing in the movie have no relation to the TV shows.
Yes.
And so I get it from that confusion standpoint. But once again, they're the guys creating this stuff. They could have literally been like, hey, we're doing this Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill. They didn't have to reference Smallville, because at this point Smallville was off the air for so long. But Arrow and Flash were on the air at this time, so they could have easily said, if we drop any Green Arrow or Flash nuggets, that's fine. Just reference whatever was happening in TV shows, or just tie it together somehow. And even if they brought Grant Gustin into the movie, it's not like they ever have to reference something specific from that happened in his TV show.
Right, yeah. I thought he was a great Barry Allen.
Stuff.
I know people rag on him. I thought he was a great Barry Allen. The only issue he ever had was, honestly, the writers. It was the writers and the direction of the show. He was fine. Like, yes, outside of the blonde hair he didn't have, and you kind of get over that as the series itself goes on. But I thought he was a good Barry Allen. I always enjoyed him. Instead of Iris.
That's just another thing that DC, and I agree with you, I did too. But that's just another thing. It's like, yeah, has Marvel changed the looks of certain characters? Yes, we know they have. But I think for the main core big characters, I don't think they really have. And it's like, okay, you're doing a Flash TV show. I've seen pictures where people, photoshopped Grant's hair blonde. He looks fine. Dye his hair. What the hell? Make him look like people recognize from the book. That's my problem with Jason Momoa as Aquaman. It's not that he has the long hair and the beard. It's that it's brown hair. Make it dirty blonde, for God's sakes. It doesn't have to be beach blonde.
Remember when you were talking about the Flash movie that came out? It's so crazy how people don't really understand how good the CW stuff was early on. The Flash season 1, people consider that really, really good. Well, the reason why it can be really good is because they actually, this is crazy. The people in the TV universe of the CW realized that the only way the Flash can function most as a character is if he has the Reverse Flash. The movie version does not have the Reverse Flash. People, if you haven't watched it yet as a spoiler, I don't care. You save yourself some time. The Flash movie, the live action one that just came out earlier this year, does not have Reverse Flash. In fact, and people would gaslight you into believing this, and this is so stupid. There is no reason why you can't do a superhero's main villain in his first movie. First of all, there's many examples of this working out perfectly well.
Oh, yeah.
Go back to 1978. Gene Hackman is Lex Luthor. The guy who Joker from Michael Keaton's movie. Jack Nicholson was in. Red Skull is in Captain America. Hell, Aquaman had both is in there. Ocean Master and Black Manta. Tobey Maguire, Green Goblin. Daredevil has King. That trash Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck back in the day had Kingpin.
Right.
Michael Clark Duncan. Like,
you definitely. That's the thing. It's like they're overthinking it. And instead of, you don't go up to somebody like my wife who's not into this stuff at all,
right?
And go, who should be the villain in the Flash? Because she's like, what are you talking about? But if you
go
up and take a poll of fans, if you take a poll of fans and go, who should be the villain in the Flash? Probably 8 out of 10 are going to say Reverse Flash. It's not hard. This isn't rocket science. In Green Lantern, and I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. Yes, the movie wasn't good, but I own it because I love Green Lantern. I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. The villain should have been Sinestro, not that garbage Parallax that they did. It should have been Sinestro. And they could have easily done the origin stuff, had him train, and then Sinestro goes bad, And they could have led to Parallax for the end of the movie after credits.
Even in the original X-Men movie, Magneto is their main villain in the Brotherhood of Mutants. So I hate when people say you can't do him in the first. That's just such stupidity, and shows that people don't even themselves understand how vital the main villain is to their characters. Like, if people think like Joker is super pivotal to Batman, think of something very similar like that on the same level with Reverse Flash and Barry. It's pretty much the exact same thing, except it's a way different dynamic. You can't really make Flash work without him. Then in the movie, they're about to sit here and tell me that Barry can go back in time, see when his mom died, but he can't see the person that killed her. It's like, oh my goodness.
Right.
What level of storytelling were we doing here? I was like, opening weekend, I was there for that movie. I was like, and I love The Flash, man. I love me some Flash. One of my favorite superheroes ever made. I was like, he's finally getting his first movie. Ezra Miller. I hated Ezra Miller in that original Justice League movie. I thought it was straight garbage. I was like, the fact that he got acted by a TV show actor is disgusting, but that of itself, well, to be fair, as you mentioned earlier, there's no setup with DC stuff. The Flash TV show set him up.
Even the TV show did a great job of when the Flash went back and saw who killed his mom and stuff. And they even paid it off in one of the very last episodes before the series finale from episodes, seasons before where, the Flash sees himself peeking around the corner and waves himself off, and you're like, when they did that, I was like, oh, that is awesome. That's like from 2 or 3 seasons ago, so they really paid stuff off well, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. It's just super weird how people don't realize how setup can work. The Flash was set up for success in that season 1 with the decisions based around the character, The Justice League movie that we got doesn't set the Flash up at all. Why should people go and care about Ezra Miller's Flash? Why should they? Now, some of him was just being a terrible person in general. You literally know nothing about his character because they've shown you nothing to care about. The audience wants something to care about. It's like, why do it's Flash. I know he's kind of popular. People know Barry Allen and Wally West and Jay Garrick, kind of. But why should they care about this version of Barry Allen?
Right.
Because you look like Barry Allen, you too.
That just goes back to what we were saying before, whereas, before the Avengers came out, the first Avengers movie, you had the standalone Iron Man, you had the standalone Captain America, you had the standalone Thor, you didn't, Hawkeye was subtle in Thor. So yes, did they wait till Avengers to really give full cred to some people like, the Hulk? Well, we knew they were pulling from the Edward Norton Hulk movie. So even he had a standalone. Black Widow was in Iron Man 2. So even though it wasn't her own movie, we saw her before Avengers. You know, you saw basically everybody before Avengers. So you were like, okay, I know these characters now. Whereas Justice League, you know, you saw Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and that was it before the movie, you know? And then you're just thrown in with this cyborg guy, which, once again, that's why I think the 4-hour one was better, because I walked out of the Justice League that Joss did. I walked out of that with so many questions. I didn't walk in the 4-hour one. All those questions were answered.
Mm-hmm.
They were all answered. So,
and we got a little bit of time left as you have to head out soon. But I wanted to ask you about indie comics right now. So eventually, guys, Andy will appear on a longer form Iron Man podcast episode, and we'll have more in-depth ways we can tackle this. But I want to tackle this point because I know you have big opinions about this. So you're in indie comics, right? So, okay, first thing is, what drove you to being part of indie comics? Were you just tired of the mainstream bullshit that was happening? You're just like, fuck it, I'm doing this now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been about 3 years, and it was honestly just turning 50 and going, you know, seeing how this stuff was kind of blowing up with the crowdfunding and stuff, and seeing my friends, you know, basically partake in it and do it. And it's, you know, a few of them are a little bit older than me. Some of them are just a little bit younger, but we're all in the same area. And I just kind of was thinking, man, I don't want to be like 65, 70 and go, I wish I would have done that, you know, done my own thing. So, you know, through various other jobs I've done outside of comics and stuff, I was able to basically kind of take the chance to do that, because, you know, the big thing is you're not making money while you do it. You know, working for DC and Marvel, you know, every week I'm getting a paycheck for whatever I submit page wise, you know? So I was just like, you know, it's kind of like that saying, now or never. And I figured, why not, you know, take the plunge and just do it. And you know, that's why, because it was, you know, it was like turning 50. I think 40 is the midlife crisis, not 50. But, you know, turning 50 and going, oh man, I'm 50. And I think it was just like 30. Obviously, you turn 30. I don't know how old you are, but you turn 30.
I'm 28.
28. You turn 30. It's nothing. It's literally just another year, whatever. You know, now I've got a 3 in front instead of a 2. You know, turning 40, there's a little bit of a 40. You know, because you do think midlife, because you're like, man, if I make it to 80, I'm at the halfway point now. You know, turning and it was like 40 was nothing either. I was like, I'm 40, whatever. But man, turning 50, it's not like I couldn't get out of bed or anything. I wasn't depressed, but it really did kind of hit you when you think about numbers and stuff. And then I thought back to, like, my dad passed away 4 years before I turned 50, and he was 76. And I'm like, wow, that's only 26 years older than I am turning. And you know, once again, you're 28. So 26 years to you might go, well, that's a long time, you know, because time does feel like it speeds up the older you get, with the more stuff you have to do and responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. That's why when you're 10 and it's a month away from Christmas, those 4 weeks feel like forever.
Right.
Whereas I'm like, oh my God, it's almost November. Christmas is almost here. And it'll be here like that. So, you know, turning 50, I was like, 26 years is not that long. And I'm not saying I'm kicking it at 76. Knock on wood, I hope not. I'm just saying that I was like, yeah, if I want to do this, I need to do it now. So that's why I did.
And what would be like one of the biggest things you see that holds people back in the indie comics Iron Age space right now? Because, you know, there's a lot of people going back and forth about all types of things creative wise. What will be some of the reasons why you think that holds people back, actually?
Well, I mean, I think you do have to narrow that down a little more. Like, holds them back from doing what?
As far as being successful, like, let's say successful on their campaign. Let's say get the campaign going and being successful on that.
A lot of it is people just doing it out of the gate. And there have been people that I've seen do really well who I've never heard of before. But a lot of the guys that do well have, you know, really sharpen their teeth, or whatever the saying is, working so many years in the mainstream, and you get that credibility, you build up a reputation, you have a fan base already. You know, if you're just, if I don't care how good you are, if you're just like, you know, I draw really well, I write really well, I'm going to do this campaign, but nobody knows who you are. I mean, honestly, it's got to be really good looking stuff. And I'm not saying the writing has to be good too, but let's be honest, comics is a visual medium. When you go to somebody's campaign, you know, I don't know about you, I rarely watch the video. First thing I do is scroll through it to see how the artwork looks.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, if the art looks good, I go back and I read what it's about.
Yeah, I'll just say this right after watching. Unpopular opinion: I really could care less for the trailers. Not saying they look bad. They actually look pretty good.
I do trailers. I was working on a trailer for the art book I'm doing that showcases some of my full pencil work. You know, before we did this, and it's like some people really like the trailers, and even if it's a 50-50, 50 don't care and 50 love them, that's fine. Even if it was 70-30, 70 don't care and 30 do. To me, it's better to have it up than not. So, so getting back to the question,
yes,
you know, if you're starting to do a crowdfund, or, you know, do your own project and you've never done anything, you've got to before you launch that project, you should almost put 6 months to a year in on social media of spreading the word and getting the word out there. And look, 6 months is a long time. A year is a long freaking time, but it will probably be more beneficial to take that time to build up your following, you know, start a YouTube channel, you know, because one of the great things, and we all do it, is it's a great way to talk to fans almost one-on-one. I mean, it's not, because you have a lot of people watching and stuff, but it is kind of one-on-one, because when I'm talking on a live stream, you know, I'm basically talking to the one person, even though it's a bunch that are watching, you know, and you need to build up your fan base and get, you know, have people get to know you. And if you're an artist, writer, you know, show your work, you know, do draw streams and stuff like that. And start, you know, showing nuggets of the project and stuff, and really build it up. And then if you can do that for a year, I'd say after the first 6 months, that's when you put your sign up page out. So 6 months into your year of building, you do the sign up page, and you keep that sign up page up for the other 6 months as you're building it and teasing it and stuff. And then you launch. But you can't launch without a fan base.
Yeah, because I've seen people literally basically launch without even notifying people at all. We're talking as far as even a mailing list. And I'm like, you wonder why people haven't even heard. Even if they wanted to support you, they didn't even know you were doing anything because you didn't tell them.
Right. And that's just it. You got to build up your mailing list, which is through, you know, a website and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of pre-planning and preparatory work, but if you just take the time to do that and do it right, you know, you'll get good results. And you also have to look at it, honestly, you have to look at it like any small business. And the old saying, because I don't know if they use the saying anymore, but when I was growing up, the saying was, if you start a small business, you got to give it 5 years of assuming you're not going to make a profit, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It really is. I mean, yeah, of course, there's people who do campaigns, and their first campaign out of the gate, and they're not like a well-known person or something, and it might blow up and do 6 figures or something. More power to them. But that's like a lottery thing too. Oh, I won the lottery. Yeah,
it's more of an exception to the rule kind of thing.
That's not the normal, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's the big advice. So.
And your campaign, or show it off right here on this video.
Sure.
As doing very well. And as we talk about being exceptions to the rule, you literally are an exception to the rule, actually. Do you think that was based off your personality or the connections that you made, actually?
Well, I mean, this is my Kordrath is the fourth or fifth campaign, and
Oh, so you've been on the block a few times. Okay, I see. Okay.
yeah, because before Kordrath, I did 2 volumes of my superhero book called First Man.
Okay.
And then after before First Man, I did a book which was Kickstarter because I didn't even know the
Oh my
difference and
God.
all that stuff. I did a book called
100.
Jungle Lords Ultra. Then
Mhm.
I did 2 First Mans. I did a more of an art type, drawing type book in between. That's why it says 5, but there's only been 4 actual graphic novels.
Right.
And each one has grown, and that's why I like using the 5-year thing. Now I'm not, I'm like I said, I'm about 3 years in, and it's still a slow build. And Kordrath #2, Volume 2 will launch next year, but in between those, I'm doing a book called Nice and Tight, the comic book pencil art of Andy Smith, which, it's a lot of people pencil and ink their own work now. I'm one of them, But when I was working mainstream, 80% of what I did was inked by somebody else. So I did really tight pencils for other people to ink. So I'm putting out an art book that showcases, 52 pages, some of the best pages over like the past 20 years or so.
So I'll ask you: was this heavily inspired by like Conan the Barbarian to a certain extent?
To an extent, yeah. Because I grew up loving Conan and Tarzan.
Definitely giving me the vibe when I was looking. The cover art, this is impressive. I like it.
Thank you.
What was the creation around this female character? Because and comic books try to probably believe men like even women like hot ladies on their books.
Sure.
What was the creation around this character? Looks like a succubus.
She is a succubus. It's her name's Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
She's a shape changer and stuff.
Play on Lilith, actually.
Huh?
I play on Lilith, right?
Yeah. She's a shape changer, and basically, my buddy Dennis and I, who created this book and stuff, we wanted, Kordrath has his lady friend Adriana, who's a sorceress. The Necro Knight's a bad guy, and his second in command, I guess you could say, is Lilith, and because we wanted him to have like a female second in command instead of some stoogey dude or something. And we wanted to have a shape changer in the book, and that's about it. When it came to the visuals of her, we talked over a few things, and I just drew her out, and that was basically that.
Congratulations on all your success with your campaigns.
Thank
you're doing really, really well. Seems like you do have an audience here, And the last thing before I ask you the final thing, which is, what have you learned from the other campaigns that made this one, you think, more successful?
It's just you gotta get out onto channels to spread the word. You gotta really dive into social media. And lots of people, I talk to and tell them that they're like, "Oh, I hate social media," and I'm like, "Well, too bad."
Yeah, I hate working, but we got to do it for money.
I break it down like. And the importance of the 3, and when I say 3, I mean YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. That's the order underrated as well. Yeah. I think YouTube is the most important, and I like it. So that's nice. I'm glad that the most important one is the one that I enjoy the most as well. I like YouTubing. I used to have a radio show. I've done some acting before, so I like YouTube. Twitter is, I think, second, because the reach when you do a post or a tweet or an X or whatever, I think it goes further with the amount of followers you have that see it than on Facebook. I've got a business Facebook page, and I've got my personal page. You do a business one because your personal only has 5,000. I topped that out, so I did a business one. But let's be real, I can put a Facebook post out, and out of 5,000, maybe 100 people see it. It's always the same 100, it seems like. So the reach isn't that great, but it's still a tool. And then I use Instagram, and it's a job. One of the things about doing this is, when I was working for Marvel and DC, the plus side to it was I would, come up in my office, take out my script, for the day, look at the page, read it, thumbnail it, start drawing it. By the end of the day, short day, long day, whatever it was, every page is different. Have the page done, and then just go in the house, chill out, relax. But when you're doing your own thing, because it is your own business, it's a lot more. It's doing the social
Yeah, because
media.
essentially they're doing all the marketing and
Right.
that stuff for
And now
you.
you're doing it, you know?
Yeah, this is
So-
that's something that someone told me is that when Comic Book Shop Wednesdays come around, Wednesday, new titles come out. Who have
Yep.
factor in? There have been many hands that have touched that title you're buying before it even hit that rack on the shelf, actually.
Yep.
You know? And
Yep.
now when you're printing your own book, well, basically you're the guy doing all the process before the book gets into the customer's hands.
Yeah,
which
you're
is-
doing everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't just draw the book. And, you know, I did pencils and inks on it. A buddy of mine did the lettering that I went to the art Kubert school
Eric,
with.
was it Eric Weathers? The lettering?
No, Steve Dutro did my
Okay.
lettering.
Mhm.
Like I said, I went to the Kubert school with him.
Okay.
Once again, nothing against Eric. I've got lots of books that he's lettered, and his lettering is great. But you know, I've known Steve for 30 years, and love his and I've worked with him on every project I've done.
Mhm.
So he did the lettering. Another guy I've worked with before did the coloring, Nanjan Jambiri. But when it came to putting the files together and all that, and making up the cover with the logo and where all the stuff goes, and that's all me as well.
Right.
You know, I don't do that if I draw an issue of Superman. So,
Yeah, and
you know,
let's be
there's
honest
a
here.
lot more involved.
There was a long time ago. I remember I forgot the person's name, but they went to the actual company themselves. I'm pretty sure it was DC, where basically it's just how these companies work. They own the characters, so even if you create a great Superman story, they look at it as like, that's mine. He created for my character. You know,
And that's one of the reasons that oh God, hold on. Oh, that's one of the reasons that when I don't know how it is anymore, but you know, getting in as a writer, you know, 10, 20 years ago and before was harder because you know, if you're like, I want to write for DC, you send them a Superman story. If the editor that you send it to is smart, they will not open it. They will not look at it. They'll just write you back, whether it was before email through the mail or through email, and say, you got to send me something you wrote that is not something we own, because if I read this Superman story, but I don't think you're ready yet, if for any reason years down the road, subconsciously, part of this ends up being printed, we could get in trouble.
So yeah, industry things were so much different back then. I didn't even know they used to do that.
Yeah, you can't. So
all
yeah,
I
if you wanna be
knew
a
was that if
writer,
you wanted to be a writer, you had to get an agent, and that they would take your pitch and pitch it to the people. So there'd be this like weird middleman situation for some reason where you could literally just have done it yourself. But that's how the industry works. It has to be this middleman's shit that always likes to go on.
I
With
guess.
people.
I mean, I don't never had to deal with it being an artist. So
And that's the thing is, now looking back at how Marvel and DC have become, I mean, you said you haven't worked for them for quite some time. Do you like generally some days be like, I kind of miss it, or do you not have that feeling at all anymore? No.
No. I mean, if I miss it, it's missing how it was run or how it was ran, you know, 20 years ago. And even when I first started, it was just everything was run differently, but missing drawing those characters, not really, because and I'm kind of glad I got to draw everybody. I mean, I didn't get to draw every character, obviously, but I got to draw the main ones that I was attracted to and wanted to draw. And, you know, the characters that the way they are now, I don't even have an interest in drawing them anyhow. So,
yeah. And plus the stories that you the stories
well,
that you
the
were
stories
drawing
too.
for.
I mean, I looked through some of these books and I'm like, I don't want to draw this.
Yeah. And the thing is, the stuff you drew, I mean, let's be honest here. Now that would be considered whatever buzzword they're going to put on your characters. You know, it's like, hey, no one's trying to deal with that shit, dude. It's one of the things where, like, I've learned that they're so egotistical to the point where even if you make something good for them, they value it. This is my character. That's not yours. This is mine. It's like, well, fuck you. I'll just go do my own shit. Like, fuck yourself.
They have, you know, they play the like I did. You know, one of the last things, and I got to get out of here.
Yes.
Is I drew a 10-page job for JSA 80-page Giant like a decade ago or more.
Okay.
And one of the characters in it, I can't remember her name. She was a speedster, you know, she was a runner, whatever. And, you know, she wears a skin tight costume. right?
Mhm.
So whenever I draw a woman wearing a skin tight costume, it's kind of like even with men, you're basically drawing a naked figure and you're just putting lines over top, right? And one of the reasons costumes were designed like that back in the day is because these guys had to pump out 2 to 3 pages a day. So you're not drawing tons of gear and laces on boots and stuff. It takes longer. So anyhow, I drew her the same way. I drew her costume skin tight. So you saw the full curve of each boob, right? And the editor was like, "Oh no, I need you to basically do it like when a woman with a nice healthy set wears a tight t-shirt and you just see the line go underneath, go right underneath the chest. You don't see the full cleavage and everything, right?" And I'm like, of course I'm going to do it. It's like I was like, well, I don't want to, but okay, whatever. So I did. But then at the same time, you've got, Jim Lee and other of the quote unquote top guys. They're not being told that. Literally the same month that book came out, I could have pulled 2 or 3 other books off the stands drawn by different artists that it was literally the costume was just painted on a naked chick. But, you get these editors that are new or something and they think, oh, I can show my power. And that's the bad thing. And that goes with any field. You always will get a boss who's new at being a boss. And they're like, I'm the boss. I guess as a boss, I got to make a decision to prove why I get a paycheck. It doesn't matter if it's a dumb decision. And that's the problem. You get these idiots that don't know what they're doing and they think they have to justify
fresh out of college
their job.
hires. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And now you don't have an editor around you over your head going, you can't draw big boobs. Boobs are boobs are gross. It's like, fuck you. What were you? So last thing I'll ask is there any special shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular and anything else you want to say before we head out actually?
Everybody that's in the Indie Comicsgate community that I've met and dealt with has been awesome. It really is a big family type community. I've met so many people like yourself and others going on their channels and doing interviews and stuff. And it's always been really nice and welcoming. So, kind of like somebody at the Oscars giving a thing. There's just too many. I just thank them all.
I like to thank everyone.
Yeah. I just thank everybody. Obviously I'm tighter with some people. I do the CG Kings on Monday night with Ethan and
Mandy,
those guys, Shane, John Malin, Aaron Lopresti, Billy Tucci, Jimmy Reyes, Graham Nolan. There's so many great people on that show that pop in and out, Irene Strakowski, so many people. Then, we do the professionals on Tuesday night, which is a rotating thing with myself, Dan Fraga, Art Taber, Graham Nolan, Aaron Lopresti, Billy Tucci. That's every Tuesday. So I love all those guys. So there you go.
Man, it was great to have you on for the first time, and we'll have Mr. Andy Smith.
Yeah, we'll do it again
on the longer form Iron Man podcast, but he was busy, so you know what? We can just get it in really early. Just like my wife, she wants it in early and out. She wants to be out of the house.
That's right.
I have a wife, actually. I'm sitting here just fucking talking my body pillow. But as everyone should know, in the indie comic space, make sure to create. And this is going to take some time to build an audience. And you're going to definitely feel like you don't want to do it some days. And I've had that too with like content creation. But just got to keep doing it. You got to keep getting better at it. Because obviously, if you want to be successful, the one person that can be successful for yourself is you. Keep putting in effort. And we'll see you guys later. Have a great everyone. Peace.
Bye-bye.